I want to confess that I'm an optimist. I believe that America's best days are still to come and that the next generation will move us even closer to living out our founding ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance. And I offer that as a confession because so many people I meet are discouraged. They're discouraged about politics or what's happening in the nation or what's happening in their neighborhood. Many people wonder if our nation is even going to be around in another generation or two. And look, I get that. I look at the polling data. Only 22% of voters trust the federal government to do the right thing most of the time. And that's been with us for a long time. It's been half a century since most voters trusted the federal government that much. And what about the presidential election? Well, most voters see both of the leading candidates as ethically challenged to some degree. Not only that, when they look backwards, 65% of Republicans think that Donald Trump was the legitimate winner in 2020. At the same time, looking back 8 years, 60% of Democrats think Hillary Clinton was the legitimate winner in 2016. Put all that together, only 1 out of 4 voters really thinks that the right person was declared the winner after both those last 2 elections. Looking ahead to this year, only 1 out of 3, 30%, are very confident that the votes will be properly counted this year and the right person moving into the White House. What about Congress? Well, 1 out of 4 voters think their own representative is the best person for the job. Half believe their own representative trades votes for cash. And oh, by the way, hardly anybody believes their representative will actually listen to them on an issue they care about. And it's not just the elected officials. Most see the federal government itself, the agencies that guide so much of our activity, most see those as a threat to individual freedom. They also tend to believe that the federal government routinely provides fake news and misinformation. Even more think that was true during the pandemic. In fact, most believe our government was actively involved in blocking information that turned out to be true. So with all of this, how can I be an optimist? Well, it's because I don't believe that the political situation is representative of America. Yes, our political situation, our political system is badly broken, but my knowledge of history and my confidence in the common sense wisdom of the American people give me a reason to be hopeful looking forward. Let's go back to 1776. You know, Thomas Jefferson wrote those words that we all learn, the eloquent statements about how we were all endowed by our Creator with the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. A lot of Americans tend to believe that he wrote that to inspire a revolution. Not really. He wrote those words 15 months after the fighting began, and at the time he wrote that, 11 of the 13 British governors had already been forced out of the colonies. So the war began, and Jefferson was giving voice to what the American people had already done. Not too far back in history for you? Well, I remember the 60s. 1968 was a tough year. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. It was only 5 years after President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. A lot of people in those days believed America's best days had already come and gone. They didn't think we could get through it. And there was even concern that we would never be able to keep up with the Soviet Union. One person who had a different view, Ronald Reagan. When he became president in 1980, he began talking about putting his faith in the American people. And he, of course, coined the notable line about the most terrifying words in the English language being, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." You know what? 6 out of 10 Americans still believe that today. What I see when I look at the world around us is that in America, the people lead, politicians lag behind. Eventually they catch up, but it's not right away. They are not the leaders, they are the followers. So when I look to the American people, what do I see? Well, 82% still embrace those founding ideals of freedom, equality, and self-governance. In the political world, a lot of people say, oh, there's a conflict. You can't have freedom and equality. Only 13% of voters see such conflict. 3 out of 4 voters believe that American politics is more polarized than American society. And even on key issues that somehow bedevil the political class, most Americans have a pretty good handle on things. 8 out of 10 say that legal immigration is good for America. At the same time, 8 out of 10 say illegal immigration is bad for America. That's consistent with our history and our heritage. We are a nation of immigrants and we are a nation of laws. Most Americans have figured that out and continue to believe it. And look, this is the way things are in America today. When people look to their own lives, to things going on in their communities, to people they're working with and getting along with, they can be positive. And that's the view I take because I know that what happens out in society governs where America is going. It's not what happens in Washington. And as a result, as long as we continue to do our part as citizens, as long as we continue to focus on uplifting those founding ideals, we'll have done our part to ensure that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth.